it's certainly the case. One of the things I was talking to a few of the streamers that I met down there are into fighting games, do Street Fighter, that do Smash, Smash Brothers, and um, uh, you know, definitely opened a lot of things up for me. I don't think, because I am not, just for your streaming, I'm not myself. I don't game a ton because when I was younger, we didn't have consoles. Um, and so I know a little bit about it, but I probably don't know as much as I could, and I'd love to. So I'd love to hear more from you in terms of, because I do think it's an area that is important. One thing that I didn't realize until going down to DreamCon, that it's also an area where there's a much greater representation of Black and Brown players in terms of popularity. And that was one thing that I really, DreamCon, I learned a lot about that in terms of, where some of the fighting games and, the propensity of playing fighting games. So would love to learn more as part of this too.
Nice. See, so you say there wasn't that. Do you play any games like not even one or two games that you think
Yeah,
is a
I'm not,
favorite?
because I know it's stunning. It's like, and he's running Twitch. How could that be? Um,
I didn't say
Basically,
that.
yeah, no, but it's understandable, and I'll say what I've said. That I think the interesting thing is, and I said this, where it's a strength and a weakness.
Hmm.
Um, it is a strength because a lot of when you play a lot of games, you play particular games. Nobody plays all the games,
Hmm.
right? And then when you watch a lot of Twitch, you see it through your own eyes. You see it through what you want it to be for your game, for your genre, for whatever you like in Twitch. And one of the things that's helped me is, I don't come to it with like an answer that is my answer. And so what I do is I spend a lot of time listening and learning. Um, but when I was young, we didn't have consoles. I'm old enough that like there was no PlayStation. The only games were Galaga, and Miss Pac-Man. And so sure, I played arcade games, but by the time consoles came out and they became commonplace, I was working, and the reality is to get good at gaming, it takes time, you
Yeah,
know, and
it's
and I didn't have time, and so my son got into gaming, and I would play some games with him, right? He's a Call of Duty player, and I'd play it some, but I would get killed right away, and like to get good at something, it takes some time, and now I have a day job running the company. It's so yeah, it's something that but there's obviously tons of people here at Twitch that know it inside and out.
nice, nice, nice. So just to give you a little bit of just kind of like a background on myself and my history on fighting games. I basically started off playing Tekken 1. So Tekken 1 was on the PlayStation. Um, there's like a competitive scene that I joined. I would say I'm 34 now. So it was like around like when I was like 18, 19, I started joining the competitive scene. There was Tekken 6. There was a place called Trocadero where it was like an arcade scene where most of us used to play. And, we would like play for, sometimes we'll play for money. So we'll put a pound down and whoever wins gets the rest of it. And then there was stuff like, what other stuff was there? There's like actual tournaments. So I know you have heard of Evo, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So Evo is what I'm going to this weekend. I'm from the UK, so I'll be flying out to Las Vegas to go and like compete and do content. Um, what other stuff is there? There's loads of different tournaments. There's loads of different like esports stuff as well. So like with Tekken, you've got the Tekken World Tour, Street Fighter, you've got the Capcom Pro Tour. These are like kind of like big esports circuits for fighting games. Uh, I don't know. There's a game Project L, which is like League of Legends, but a fighting game version of it. I don't know what they're doing with that, and the game is still currently under development, so we're still waiting to see stuff with that. But there is a pretty big scene when it comes to like the esports side. It's still growing. It's not as big as like League of Legends, Dota, Call of
Yep.
Duty, and stuff like that. But it's growing quite a lot, and I also feel like on the streaming side, streaming fighting games wasn't that big at all. Do you know what I mean? But
Yep.
now it seems like it keeps on growing and growing and growing. And I honestly feel like I think it needs more attention and more love on the Twitch platform, in my opinion.
So talk to me this about attention and love on Twitch. Help me understand how, like, because I think it makes a ton of sense that there's a lot of opportunity there.
Yep.
Right. And my sense is, I'm gonna throw something out here.
Yep.
Is that there are a lot of people that are off Twitch.
Yep.
That play fighting games that don't use Twitch regularly. But if they were exposed to it, then they would use Twitch regularly. Meaning the challenge isn't that the folks that use Twitch all the time don't know that fighting games exist on Twitch. It's that there are a lot of people that are into fighting games that don't use Twitch.
So that is true. So I do feel like that when it comes to, streaming fighting games, it feels like some of them are on rival platforms. Some of them are like just not on here, but that's because they find it hard to kind of get the exposure. And I feel like there's certain things that could help them with exposure. So like when there was like, the Twitch rivals and stuff like that, the Twitch rivals was not really like to do with fighting games as such. But then when there is something that is fighting games, it's always done in America. So then it kind of leaves out all the other countries. There's like a lot of players in the UK that do fighting games. There's loads of players in Europe that do fighting games, and even outside of Europe and the UK that do fighting games, but we're just not getting those opportunities. It's always like, okay, America will get the opportunity for Twitch rivals, and then so like I just feel like if it was widely spread across different regions, I think more people would be they'll be more like motivated to try out the Twitch platform and be streaming fighting games. I think it's hard because it's quite niche. It's not as widely accepted as shooting games or the other games, because those games are a lot more easier, right? So
but let me ask you this. I by the way, I think as I was learning down at DreamCon, fighting games are, as we talk about being niche, they may not be the most popular things on Twitch.
Yeah.
But actually, in certain communities, fighting games are like not niche at all. They're like, there are a lot of people out there that play fighting games.
That's also correct, but it's like if we look at like just the wider spectrum of it, like as in if we're comparing it to other games, like if we compared like, I don't know, the Call of Duty League or something like that compared to, I don't know, the Tekken World Tour, we can clearly see the difference of who's going to be there for attendance.
Right.
But I just feel like if there's more support, I don't know, like I just threw out Twitch rivals as an example, but there's probably other things that can be done. I know the front page and stuff like that. When people go on the front page, they rarely see fighting games, and when I was featured on it quite regular, people was kind of surprised because there was not really any other fighting game streamer that was really showcased on the front page as much. So so maybe stuff like that can help. I don't know, but I definitely feel like there is a lot more streamers than when I started in 2015 that stream fighting games.
By the way, part of this is having those tools that make a difference. So like take, for example, Rivals as an example. Rivals didn't grow fighting games in the US when they would do it. If it did, then it'd be like, oh, wow, that's great, because here we found something that could like grow it. Because really what you want are more people. You want to build your community. You want more people, sitting here enjoying it, and more opportunities for you to build community. And right now the challenge is, and we keep looking for this, is what can we do to help do that? Like if you take the front page, and you probably realize this, like when you were on the front page, it actually your stats may have bumped up briefly.
It did. I feel like it definitely does help, but it helped more on the lines of like the casual audience. Do you see what I'm saying? I was never looking, when the front page was happening, I was never looking for like pro players or anything like that. I'm already kind of knowing.
I know that.
Yeah, so it did help with the casual audience, which is why I'm saying I think it would help others if they were
Well,
doing
the
that.
thing that happens is, did it grow your community though? Meaning that you're on the front page, 2 months later, was your community bigger?
I would say so. I would
Okay.
say it was. I say it was a decent. It was definitely like I had new people that played other games that would just watch me for the way how I am,
Yeah.
but and my personality. So I feel like it did help. So
Yeah. Yeah. I will tell you what we usually see, which is
mhm,
one reason. I mean, you just tried out guest star as an example.
mhm,
What we usually saw was that being on the front page, it might have spiked your traffic for that while you're there, so you feel good about it because like, all right, I'm at, and you see this giant number.
mhm,
Most of those people were just, they weren't actually, they even had the volume off, they weren't actually watching you, they were browsing the front page,
mm,
right? But suddenly you went up to 800 ACCV, so you like were jazzed, okay? But then they didn't drive loyal members of your community. And
mm,
for me, a lot of our effort now is more around collaboration tools, because what we've seen is just putting someone on the front page, people don't spend their time on the front page. People spend the time on your channel and other channels. And
mhm,
in general, the way people get to know other streamers is through collaboration,
mhm.
right? And so that, by the way, that's one, I'll tell you one of the, and in fact, I would be curious once we have this fully out, King Jai, reach out to me because I'd be curious to see what works for you and what doesn't. What we're releasing in the next 2 to 3 weeks is a version of Guest Star that makes it easy for you to be streaming with someone else at the same time.
Okay. So
So
is
that
that
way you
is
can be
it do?
hanging out with someone else.
So is this public knowledge already
Yes,
or
we
okay?
announced it. We announced it at TwitchCon Paris.
Okay.
Okay, um, that the one of the big problems with Guest Star. So, for example, like it would have been a hassle for me to stream at the same time. Right? I decided not to stream on my channel. It's kind of possible, but it's kind of a hassle, right? And what you really want to do, and this is what we're working on, is be able to hang out with other streamers, because often the way people are going to get exposed to you is somebody else in someone else's community that maybe is of similar size or a little bigger, that you hang out with them on their stream and they say, yeah, I kind of like King Jai, right?
Mhm.
Let me go check him out, right? Because in general, the way people find other people on Twitch is through collaboration. So we're trying to help it make it easier for you to casually collaborate with other streamers.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I'm with you. I'm with you. I think it definitely it's a good idea. It's a good idea. Like when I used to have like these kind of like sessions or should I say online fighting like sessions with my friends, they would be streaming as well, and we would kind of like be talking on like Discord and stuff. So I think it would be easier if we do have guest star and we can kind of talk and do stuff. So yeah, it sounds interesting. Sounds interesting. I think there's more ideas that could come by though. I feel like
I think there are. So that's what I like. Part of this is looking for ideas that that make a difference, right? Because what I want to do is grow. Like I want to get more. I want more people watching fighting games because I think there are a lot of people out there that play fighting games that don't watch Twitch.
yeah.
You know, I think that's the. I don't have data to support this. I bet you the biggest problem is for the number of people out there, for everyone that loves Twitch and watching you in fighting games, there are 5 people that play fighting games but then don't spend a lot of time on Twitch, and they just haven't like they haven't realized how unique it is and special it is to hang with a streamer that they like.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense. So, what's your thoughts on the front page? And are you still gonna have the front page, or are you gonna remove it?
We still have some. Actually, this actually may help fighting page games. One of the problems with the front page today is it's not personalized, the carousel, right? So I show it to a whole bunch of people. I mean, let me. So King Jai, do you also watch Twitch a lot?
Yeah, like yeah.
How often do you really use the front carousel to find something you want on Twitch?
I'm not gonna lie, I don't. Not at all. Like most of the
Yeah.
time, but that's me personally. I'm a streamer, so like we're talking about
No,
casual people.
no, casual people, I will tell you, because it's not personalized at all.
Okay, so it's whoever's goes on the front page will see whatever you've put on the front page,
And
basically,
the
right now.
problem is, yeah. And so just think you have all these people, right? And they don't even play fighting games. And so the way we're directing, the way we're going more is we've now gotten the ability to create specialized shelves below the carousel. And certainly you absolutely can have a shelf that is, it's not just fighting games. So give me something in fighting games, like the particular aspect that, now that we have your ability to create tags that are independent, the idea of that is to create more personalized shelves that someone will look at and say, oh yeah, like I'm interested in this. And it's not just, actually you can have a good, interesting point. Obviously each fighting game is its own category, right? Whether it's Street Fighter or, and Smash Brothers. You can have a shelf which is top fighting game streamers, or have a shelf that, so we want to do, and also that can be localized in a different country.
Okay,
Does that make sense?
sure does. Makes sense to me.
Right. The way to think of it is, when you use Netflix and they have all these shelves that say heartwarming movies, that we want to make it so that we can have a lot more shelves that are more personalized. So that then we're creating stuff that like works for you.
Man,
Yeah.
it's very interesting, the stuff that you're trying to do, because it feels like you're changing it so it's more personalized for like everyone that's kind of, whether you're casually watching or whether you're a streamer, right? That's the general full process behind it, right?
Yes, because people, as Variable said, most people don't use the front page. They use the left follow tab.
Yeah, I do as well. I can't lie to you. Like the
Yeah.
first thing I do is I'll log in, and it'll just be the left side. Who's on that I know. Okay, let me see this streamer. So
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
it makes sense. It makes sense.
You're not, and that's the way most of our viewers are. They show up directly on the page. They don't even come to our front page. Or they show up and they look in the left-hand lab of somebody that they know.
Okay, cool. No, I understand it. I understand it. So like, all right. So what could, like, so I really want to help the fighting game streamers a lot. Like that's what I feel my role is, even being on this platform. So I wanted to know, what is your thought process when it comes to like, there's probably some fighting game streamers in the chat now. Like, what is your thought process on like maybe even trying to help them get more exposure? How can we do things like this? Because again, like I said, things like, okay, maybe front page is not gonna help everyone, but then there's stuff like, Twitch Rivals maybe having like a Europe version of Twitch Rivals would be good.
I will tell you the thing that has consistently been the foundation of almost everyone that has like, broken out on Twitch or grown on Twitch, as opposed to it happening because of Rivals or the front page. Almost everyone, it's because of collaborations with other Twitch streamers. Like if I sit and talk to streamers that are bigger now, and I ask them, how did you get big? Right? And I can tell you not a single one has said to me, well, I was featured on the front page. literally not one have said that. Okay? Everyone has said, oh, I started, collaborating with this person, and I met this person, and I got into this group. Right? So I think the power is in getting stronger social groups together. That's what, by the way, this isn't in the UK yet, so I feel bad mentioning this, King Jai.
King J.
Because you're like, yeah, but give it to me.
It's King J.
We've created something called our Black Unity Guilds to try and help Black streamers like connect with each other. And
Okay.
that's one area. And now our focus right now, we're testing it out in the US, but we need to bring that to the UK as well as a mechanism of, because the biggest challenge is get to meet, get to engage with other streamers, right?
Okay.
And then collaborate together.
Okay. That sounds interesting. When are you releasing it? Has it been released already, or you're saying that you're trying it out in America?
Well, no, but we have it in America, and I think our policy, I don't know what our policy is. I think we just launched them just briefly, and we had, in fact, one of the things when I was down at DreamCon, was we were meeting with a lot of, I don't know if, do you know what DreamCon is since you're a UK streamer?
Yeah, I saw like a lot of like people that I follow on Twitter. They were at the event, but I don't fully know like exactly what it is.
Okay.
Maybe you can give me a brief rundown on it.
Yeah, DreamCon is so RDC World, which is a group of
I know
black
them. Yep.
YouTube creators. They started it, I think, like 4 years ago, as an alternative to VidCon, because they said, look, we go to VidCon, but as you know, as creators of color, we're a tiny part. Like you hardly even see us at VidCon, and so it's so like I talked to the streamers that are there, and they said, look, they love TwitchCon, but when they're at DreamCon, like all the creators, the community, it's all black and brown creators and black and brown community members. And they said it was very special. It was really great going down there because they said it was, very unique to kind of be able to interact. And so that's when we kind of rolled it out and we were talking to get people to join it. So we're figuring out how to make it work, because what we want to do is we have a Discord server and we're going to be doing things to try and help more interaction and collaboration across black streamers. Again, we're starting in the US, but we absolutely will be expanding that.
Nah, I definitely would like to see that happen, like all over, like Europe, UK. The one thing I feel like is a problem in fighting games is that no one really collabs that much at all. I feel like everyone just kind of does their own thing, and like I like to collab, but I feel like most of my collabs are always more accepted outside of UK and Europe, if I'm to be completely transparent. Yeah, it sucks. Like even like down to, if I be completely honest, when I go to Evo, I expect a lot of my collabs to happen because I feel like the Americans are a lot more they understand what a collab is, whereas I feel like Europe and UK don't really understand it at all.
That's interesting.
So as much as we can set up these stuff, like these groups and stuff for the UK and Europe, like, and I'm not saying for you to not, I'm all for it. It's just, I feel like we just don't collab enough. Like there's probably loads of fighting game streamers, content creators in the UK, and I've always been open for collabs, but I don't really collab with none of them that much. Like most of my collabs on like my streams outside of a few friends that I play doesn't happen at all. And it's weird because it's shown time and time again. If we look at all these groups on like stuff like Twitch and stuff, it feels like they all grow big together. They all have their own audiences. They all come together, then they all join each other's individually. It just makes sense. Like that's the whole reason behind the collab. It's not, oh, you collab one off and that's it. It should always be happening, It should always be happening. But yeah, I don't know.
That could be, by the way, I mean, this could be, as you talk about fighting games in the EU and all, like, and why is it not bigger, right? We could be on to what is like
the problem,
one of the underlying causes, because as things get big on Twitch, and it's not so. Are you familiar with AMP?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I love them lot, man. Them lot are funny.
I assume that, but yeah, I knew you knew Kai, but and
Kai, like, Phantom, all of them lot, yeah.
Yeah, I had dinner with them, and the foundation. Really, what they are is they're a lifestyle group of players that game, right? That's part of what they do, but really much of what they create and much of their audience, it transcends just the game, right? And it's that all their interaction really helps them, right? The fact, like the reason it works so well is because there are 8 of them and they do all sorts of stuff together, and it's not just gaming, right? You know, in other words, gaming is part of it. For some of them, it's a small part, some a big part. But I think that is what makes Twitch work,
Yeah.
right? And it's not always we think of it's the game, but the reason people are here at Twitch is the person, is the community, right? And sometimes you have to transcend the game, and I think that happens through collaboration. So that I think there may be something here, which is about what maybe one of the challenges you're experiencing is there isn't this natural sense of collaboration in this area.
So what's the solution? Because I know there's a problem, but I'm all about trying to fix the problem and trying to find a solution.
This is what I'd say as the solution. And you said this, like, I would, you know, start yourself, start trying to build the meta communities, right? Try to find ways. What often works, you know, is folks like band together, right? DreamCon got started because RDC World just like went, and it started out real small, and this year they had 20,000 tickets sold. Every year it's gotten twice as big. And you know, usually the big things happen because somebody takes initiative and then brings people together, you know. And so I'm not the best person to give you the answer, to be honest, right? The best people to give you answers are streamers that have done exactly this in other areas, right? My job is to build the product, but like, you know, the creators are the ones that know better than me what's entertaining for their communities.
Interesting.
I know it's tough. The tricky thing is we all like, that's the thing. You look at Rivals or the front page and it looks like it's easy. And it's like, well, if we just do this, but that's not what has worked, right? I know it's frustrating because you'd much rather an answer that I could give you that we could make it work, right? But the reality is, I don't have so much happens on Twitch that it's not because we control, it's because creators get together and do something.
I'm left speechless. I don't know what to say. Because I know what you're saying is true, and I know collaborations are very powerful, which is why I do them. But I feel like I can only do them outside of the UK and do them well, you know, like, and
yeah. So look, I can't tell you because I don't know, right? That's the thing. I'm talking abstract. I don't know. I don't know the fighting game area detail. I don't know the UK. I don't know any of the details, right? But so what I'm about to say, I'm going to say with some trepidation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, King Jai, before I say this, I'm saying it with trepidation. When you say, I don't know, I can't, and then push through and find something that, in fact, like, I know there's some idea, there's someone that, you know, you can reach out to. And unfortunately, like, you reached out to me, right, and say, come on, which was great. Okay. The reality is there's somebody else who will have better ideas than me about getting collaboration going because they've done it. Right? They've done it with other creators. Right? And so find other creators, reach out to them. How did y'all start doing this? Right? And it may be that 5 of them don't answer, you know, reach out to one of the AMP guys and says, how did you guys start doing this? Right? And you know, they're big, so maybe they don't hear you. So find another, right? I know it's tricky, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, because I don't know the UK fighting game community. But what I do know is what makes Twitch work is that community and that collaboration.
It's tough. I feel like all the big fighting game content creators in the UK, we're all in our separate islands. That's how it feels like. For us to collaborate, I don't know what it's gonna do to bring everyone together. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know if it's like, yeah, I don't know what it is, man. Like, all right, let me break it down. So if I go to Evo now, like, I'm gonna fly to Vegas, go Evo. I know for a fact that I can bring my camera or stream, and all of those guys are gonna be involved. No problem, no issues, whatever. They're down. I don't think it's the same over here. Like, they don't. There's not the same energy. Do you know what I mean? I feel like America, they get it, and even like some of the other countries as well. Like, I done a collaboration with one of the Korean players for Tekken, like one of the best in the world. And every time we collab, it's like the engagements are insane. Everyone loves it. Like, they love when we collab. And now I know that collaboration works. Like, the first time when we done it was an off chance. He was here for a tournament in the UK. I said, come to my studio, let's stream. And when we streamed, it was like everyone was just loving it. So we done another one again. I flew out to Korea, and just said, all right, cool, like, let's do it. And again, people just really loved it. And that was a collaboration that didn't take months, or
Yeah.
it was literally like, oh, yo, you're in the UK, come to my studio, like,
Yeah.
let's do it. But that
Yeah.
in the UK would be like, oh, yeah, I'll check my diary, I'll get back to you in a couple weeks, couple months, whatever. Probably not even hear a response. It's like, the collaborations are best when they're not like taking ages to be planned. It's just like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
And that always happens in America. It doesn't happen over here.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So, by the way, and King Jai, I know I was hoping to come a little earlier, but I have to get on the road soon because
That's cool.
need to run, and I need to get in the car, drive somewhere, and then I have another meeting.
No worries. I
So
appreciate
I'm
your time
so-
either way. Thank you, man.
Yeah. But so look, I don't know the answer, but I think I appreciate the challenge of figuring out how to solve it. But the one thing I like am pretty confident of, and I know it's hard, but this is you know, figuring this out is the foundation of solving your problem, right? Is getting that interaction.
Right. I'll figure it out. I'll definitely figure it out for sure. But yeah, I appreciate your time. Thank you for coming on board.
Oh, let me say this, King Jai. Hold on. Let me throw out one thing. Let me describe, and it's not ready yet, but let me describe what we're building so that way you think about how can I use this. Okay? So, and we have to make the startup much easier. But the idea of what we're building with Guest Star is eventually all things I'm describing won't be ready till the fall. Okay? But we want to make it where you can define who are the people that you don't mind knocking on your screen and saying hi, right? At any time. And then you control who can like ping you and say, oh, I want to come hang. And so now you're streaming, you look and you see other people that are streaming, right? And you say, yo, so-and-so streaming, I'm going to go chat with him for a little while. And then someone else sees the two of you are hanging out and they decide to come hang out, right? Because the idea is, that way you can do impromptu collaborations, okay, with other streamers, right?
Right.
And start interacting and just doing stuff. Maybe one of them's playing and you're watching, right? So that's what we're building to make it really easy for streamers to just seamlessly collaborate together and to do it impromptu, just like you do with a friend where you pass by their house, right? Or like, when you're in high school or you're in college, it just becomes easy to start hanging out. And then what happens is it brings three communities together. Each of them may be at 40 or 50 ACCV, but now you put them together and now you've got 120, 130, 140 ACCV, and different people are getting exposed to different creators, right? So think of things you can do that get people interacting and collaborating, and we'll be rolling this out. And I think, I'm very curious if you come up with ideas of how people use it.
Awesome, man. Again, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah.
And hopefully we can do this again soon sometime.
All right. Thanks for having me, King Giant. Say hello. Thanks all, chat. Appreciate y'all being here, and my chat that showed up. Thanks for being here. I know some of y'all were there when I was with GPTV. So this has been great.
Thank you, man. Appreciate
All
you,
right,
man.
bye all.
Take it easy. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Damn. Ooh.